So why are we here? The secret to effective promotion management. And I invited Yuval to be a part of this because he's got a solution that I think is ideal for every brand out here. So we're going to talk about what are the nuts and bolts, the mechanics of trade promotion. Because I got to be honest with you, I've been doing this for a long time, and a lot of people simply think that if I have a solution, I push a button, it's done, or that if I hire someone else to do their trade promotion management, that takes care of it. This is typically the single largest item on your income statement, and it is the single biggest reason brands fail. And so reason we're talking about this is how do we help you get more runway? How do we help you maximize each and every opportunity to get in front of the customer? And Yuval's solution to this Promo Master solution is ideal for exactly that. So in case you don't know me, my name is Dan Lohman. I've had the privilege of working with and supporting brands from pre-emerging to multi-billion dollars in sales. I've been in this industry for a very long time. I'm dating myself. I used to be the category captain, category manager, et cetera, for Kimberly-Clark and for Unilever. And so I'm classically trained in category management, the highest level. More importantly, when I hung my shingle in this industry, I actually developed the spends distribution tracker and a lot of the advanced reporting tools they sell. But when I hung my shingle in this industry, what I was trying to do is figure out how can I help small emerging brands succeed and level the playing field with their most sophisticated counterparts. My mission, the reason we're here, is to make our healthy way of life more accessible by helping you get your product onto more store shelves and in the hands of more shoppers, including online. So do me a favor and share these resources with other brands. Help me raise the bar in the industry. There's a wealth of information in this industry, and I'm doing my best to bring the best people to support you. So again, please share that and listen to the podcast. We talk about that as well, about a lot of these insights on that. And then Yuval, you want to jump in? You want to tell us who you are?
Well, I'm Yuval Selik, and I've been in CPG now since, I don't know, 2005, I think. So it's been a roller coaster ride. And I think CPG is an amazing industry, but it's also a very tough one. Lots of learning to be had. And I think having people like Dan around that can help navigate the murky waters of CPG is ideal for emerging brands. I wish I had Dan around when I had my CPG company, but as I'll tell you later, I didn't have I had a great experience with building the brand. I didn't have a great experience with trade. So more about that later, but really nice to meet everyone here and hope to speak with most of you at some day in the future.
Yeah, and Yuval's information, obviously on the slide, it'll be on the last slide, and it is in the chat. So reach out to him. And a little bit of background story. Yuval and I have been talking and bumping into each other at expos, et cetera. We did a 3-part webinar series a while back, and there's a link to it on Yuval's site. But the point is that we've been partnering on trying to really raise the bar together. Now, as a side note, kind of my bias or plus, or, I'm not biased, but trying to, sing their praises. Their expertise was in demo management and understanding from a trade promotion standpoint, also effectively what you can get out of how you can more effectively manage a promotion, demos as part of your promotional business. But what's really cool with the pivot, et cetera, with the pandemic, et cetera, is they've really taken their game to the next level and way beyond. And they've got an amazing tool. He showed me yesterday how much they've done, and it's come a long ways. And this is exactly what every brand needs. So you'll hear me talk about how a lot of the solutions are what I would call QuickBooks for trade marketing, where they keep track of your trade spend, which is important. It's very important. But what they've done, some of the things that they've integrated into their system have really brought this to a new level. So anyhow, he's going to be talking about that in a minute. So thank you, Yuval, for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Let's get started. So let me start by saying that retail's broken. And one of the things that really frustrates me or challenges me about this industry is that everyone follows the same strategies. It's basically, we're going to teach you how to raise money, then we teach you how to raise money, and then we teach you how to raise money, and then we teach you how to effectively hand your keys to someone else. And so I want to challenge everyone on this call, everyone that's listening. Shouldn't your go-to-market strategy be every bit as creative as the ingredients in your package? And what makes natural is that our ingredients are so disruptive, so creative, so different from what everyone else has. And so we're focusing on how do we help you leverage that unique strength, the unique strength of your customer to drive sustainable sales for you, for your brand at retail. And so with that, we don't want you to be like other brands. Cookie cutter strategies deliver cookie cutter results. Remember that. If you're working with someone who has a templated or a canned strategy, the same canned strategy that they're using to sell motor oil is not going to differentiate your organic baby food or anything else. It's not going to make it easier for customers to find your product. And quite frankly, it's going to waste a ton of your money. You're going to get in front of the wrong people, etc. And we want to help you avoid those challenges. So again, that's why we're here. So the one reason why brands fail today. So I'm going to put a quick poll up. So let me know what you think the true answer is, and we'll banter a little bit while we're doing this. Yuval, you want to throw in some thoughts?
Well, I know the answer, so I'm not going to throw in the answer at this point, unless you want me to mislead everyone.
There you go. Go for it.
I think no, I'll leave it. I'll leave it to the answer. I don't want to mislead anyone.
Well, so far, the answers that are coming
What's the
in
percentage
are
so far?
all right. Oh, okay. So now it's a split. Come on, a couple more people, a few more people. Got a couple more minutes. We'll jump right back into the presentation.
What's number one right now? What's leading?
Actually, it's tied. Cash flow and too much competition. So okay, so the questions are poor shelf placement, poor merchandising, too much competition, and cash flow issues. And right now it's split between cash flow and too much competition. So go ahead. We're going to go ahead and close the poll, and we'll just say that those are the two top winners. So the right answer is,
Drum roll.
please, cash flow. And this actually solves all problems. So you've heard people say cash is king and whatnot, and there's some truth to that, but it really has a lot to do with where you're putting your product, where you're selling your product, and how you're getting in front of people. And that, again, goes back to trade marketing. So how do we fix that problem? The number one solution is that you go raise more money. And this is challenging because, and one of my biases, one of my pet peeves in this industry is that we basically tell people as an industry that you need to be a perpetual fundraiser. And I disagree with that completely. So we're going to show you how to get around that. The second reason is to sell more product. Well, that's all well and good if you have the right product in the right stores, merchandise correctly, etc. And the next thing is to save money. And again, that's why we're here. And so the best solution is, what if you could do all these? And what we're talking about here is how would it impact your business if you could leverage all three of those things, capitalize on them to grow and scale your business? So instead of focusing on raising money perpetually, let's focus on raising more money. Instead of raising more money, let's focus on helping you get more runway from your available resources. In other words, how can we help you decide which promotion is the most effective promotion to be a part of? How can we give you the strategies to be able to say no to a retailer or a broker or anyone else that particular promotion does not make sense for your brand at this stage, etc.? We're going to teach you how to do that, and that's what this webinar is about. So how do you do that? The way you do that is we need to level up your skills. We need to give you skills that your competition doesn't have. And so that's a big part of this weekly webinar series. So go back and check out old webinars. But more importantly, everyone applies cookie cutter strategies, even the big brands, by the way. In fact, when I worked for Kimberly-Clark and Unilever, it was simply rinse and repeat. This is what we did last year. This is what we're going to do this year, maybe a slight tweak, but really no creativity. This is your unique opportunity to really differentiate your brand on the shelf and show people what your brand's about and how creative you can be. And by the way, this is what retailers really want. You've heard me say this before. Retailers want three things: more traffic in their store, a competitive advantage in their market, and a reasonable profit in the category. And if you can help your retail partners achieve that, then savvy retailers will bend over backwards to support you. And this has been my secret to success. And this is how I pushed around some of the biggest, most iconic brands in the planet, including P&G, Frito, etc., where retailers would literally come to me and give me opportunities that they wouldn't give anyone else. So, and the best part is that all three of what we've just been talking about, all three of those things together will help you grow and scale your brand confidently. So better strategies and skills equal better results. So where should we start? Well, I want to spend most of the time talking about Youre solutions. So I'm going to kind of just go through this kind of quick. But the podcast, You've been on a couple times, great insights. Listen to that. There are 210 episodes. I just talked to Gail Becker of Power. Great episode. Listen to that for resources. And by the way, this stuff is free, right? The second thing is go back and check out free weekly webinars. Last week, we talked about a creative strategy that you can actually get paid to sample your products. What a cool deal. So go back and look at that, and this will be available as well. And I'll be doing other things with you all as well. The Brand Secrets and Strategies YouTube channel. And I've got a lot of different courses, 34 courses on my website. Most are free. And with that, and the free trade promotion calculator. Let me tell you a little bit about this first. So this is what this is. And you're always going to get into this more in a minute. So if you go to my website and you click on the free promotion analysis tool, you're going to get to this slide, to this page. And by the way, there are instructions on how to use it. And the point is this: 25% of your gross sales is tied to trade marketing, and 25% of that 25% of it's tied to trade marketing, and at least 70% of that is wasted or ineffective. When I say wasted, what I mean by that is it's not achieving the goal of introducing your product to a new consumer. So you can leverage this tool that you see on my website. Again, it's free. It's my gift to you, my way of giving back, to play around with, to see how, first of all, how much you're really spending. And then secondly, identify how you can change, how you can fix, how you can get more runway out of your available resources. And to get a little bit more in depth, again, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it now, but there's a video that shows you how to use this tool. And it gets into all the nuts and bolts, the mechanics of trade marketing. And this is something I talk about on other podcast episodes and other webinar episodes as well. And as you can see, you can go in and you can put all the different things that make up a trade promotion, and it'll run the numbers, do the calculations, and give you an ROI on your trade spend. Now, the reason this matters is because when you have this level of insights, and then you use something like what Yuval's going to share with us in a couple minutes, that's where you get the biggest bang for your buck. This is how we help you get more runway for your sales, more runway out of your available resources, how we help you get in front of more customers, and how we help you drive sustainable sales. And remember, every slight improvement means more runway for sales growth, higher brand evaluations, better terms of negotiating with investors, fuel for more innovation, greater support for mission-based causes, and more. Think about it. If I can reward a brand for doing good on my behalf, people want to do that. And so take a quick look at this. You can see this on the website, but where are you on this page? So if you're $1 million brand, you're spending about $250,000. That's 10% improvement in your trade spending, $17,500. What would you do with that extra money? And then keep in mind that your results improve or compound year after year. And the reason for that is because as you get better, as you begin to understand trade promotion more, that's going to help you get the most out of this. Now, what Yuval's going to share in a minute, and that's what we're here for, is a tool that's going to help you organize your promotions. So when you think about the challenges with managing promotions, one, what are the things that maximize your promotion? What are the levers that you can pull to drive the most sales, get the biggest bang for your buck, the highest ROI? That's one. And two, how do you organize that? So if you're a little brand and you're using spreadsheets or the back of a napkin, that's fine. And I recommend you become proficient with one account, one SKU. But as you grow, You need a way to organize. And this is one of the places that brands fail. That's why I invited Yuval. And by the way, another point is that you need both to really be successful. So as I said earlier, what we just talked about, all the strategies that I kind of just glossed over, went through real quick, go back and learn those. That's going to help you make the most out of Yuval's tool. So with that in mind, Yuval, here you go.
So we'll get to this slide in a second, but Dan, thank you so much for hosting this webinar. You do so much for the community, and you provide such great information. I can't even imagine how you're not charging for all the stuff that you put out. It's amazing, and you must have some rich uncle or something that gave you some inheritance, because
I'm gonna send you the bill later.
Yeah, send me the bill later. But that was really great information, and that's information that I think every emerging CPG brand should heed. So to piggyback off of what Dan said, trade marketing and trade promotions really means that you are raising awareness, right, with the shopper. When you raise awareness, you have a much greater chance of getting that shopper to select your product off the shelf. Now, this is more true, especially this year, and perhaps into 2021. Competition will be fierce. We know that. But the reality is that emerging brands are really behind in their promotional efforts. In-store demos were halted. We know that. We all suffered. The whole community suffered. And they're just coming back right now. Whole Foods, Costco. Same with TPRs and ads. There was a halt on all promotions for, 4 to 5 months now, in general, and especially when the virus hit. And this year has just been crushing for emerging CPG brands. But we have to stick to what works and figure out how to get ahead of our competitors. So the way we look at
it real quick.
What was that? Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. Let me go one step further. Thank you for sharing that. One of the challenges, another challenge we need to be aware of, is because retailers haven't been able to get that drug that we call trade promotion.
Yep.
They are looking to big brands to fill that need.
Yep.
Why this matters is that they are looking to the big brands that can pay big sliding dollars, et cetera.
Yep.
So the more effective and the more efficient that you can be, as Yuval is going to talk about, it's going to give you that leg up. It's going to give you that competitive advantage. And you need to be more aware of what Yuval just said right now, more so than any time before. So sorry about that, Yuval. Please go ahead.
No, I mean, it's so true. I always say that, and this is just from my own experience, and I've seen it with working with over 400 brands, especially the startups, right? The large multinational conglomerates have a leg up, and the emerging brands it's just so difficult to compete, especially in the Me Too category. If you're a bar, a kombucha, if there's a lot of you on the shelf, it's hard, and you got to think of really creative ways to do so. So the way we look at it here in PromoMash is that there are two focal points for effective CPG promotional management. The first is obviously the data, right? You must manage your promotional effectiveness with data. And I'm sure that Maya Angelou was not thinking of CPG promotional management when she said, if you don't know where you come from, you don't know where you're going. But that's the truth. And really the second focal point that brands need to think about is actually just as important as managing the data. And that's managing the people. A lot of people don't speak about that because people management is hard. So they avoid managing people and they just manage data, but that's fatal. So we at PromoMash, we love data, but we are also all in on making sure that brands can manage and hold accountable the people who create the data in the first place. So you have to look at it from a 30,000-foot view all the way to the granular activity view, right? Brands need to make big moves as well as little moves. But people are responsible for effective promotions because promotions are not done in a vacuum. They're real activities, negotiations by real people and in real time. And you need to manage your promotions that way. You can't just make optimization decisions 30 days or longer after it's all said and done. Okay. Which means you can't make proactive optimization decisions without real-time data. And as you can see on this slide, which is right here, the spreadsheet, this is the status quo in CPG promotional management. Okay. It's scary. This is probably one of 15 spreadsheets that brands manage their promotions with. It's just crazy. You know, when a startup brand enters the retail landscape, the most important aspect of the founder's job is to iterate and learn from their customers. Okay. Product's got to be good. Because if the product isn't good, I don't care how much money you're throwing at trade. People are not going to repeat purchase and you'll be dead. But if you got the product and you have the margin, right, you got to find out what the customers think, where your customers are, especially as the founders add distribution. So promotional effectiveness means sustainability growth in retail. So the reality is that, yes, you can do it on the back of a napkin or a spreadsheet if you're just starting out, right? And I would probably recommend it. But to have a fighting chance, and as you grow to 1 to 5 million, promotional effectiveness is still as important for sustainable growth. But at this scale, spreadsheets are holding your team back because real-time team management and analysis is just too complicated for a two-dimensional spreadsheet. And the biggest problem, I think, is that each sales rep, broker, I mean, I think you know this, Dan, right? Analyst, exec, everybody needs their own spreadsheet, especially if you have like 5 or 6 brokers or 10 brokers across the country. They all manage it differently. So the founders and the managers, all of a sudden they get a barrage of spreadsheets with their promotional activity and they have no clue what's going on, right? So trying to cobble together multiple spreadsheets is just silly. And it's not only difficult, but the complexity creates a likelihood of errors. And a startup just can't afford to make a $10,000 promotional mistake, let alone a $50,000 or worse, a $100,000 mistake. That's just going to be deadly. And I've seen it in my own business. So let's take a look at the next slide. Can I get on let me ask a question. Go back to the spreadsheet. Can I get a little thumbs up or like yes, if you've seen the spreadsheet like this before for your promotional management on your team?
I know I definitely have.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. So it's definitely there. So the next slide. Okay. So next slide, this slide shows a tale of two garden scenarios, right? On the right side, and they're small, but you can see it on the right side. On the right side is a garden with a bunch of weeds. And on the left is a clean garden. But why is the clean garden, this is rhetorical, but why is the clean garden preferable? Because the weeds are stealing the resources from the vegetables that need it, right? And that's a great analogy for how your promotions perform. You know, if you have a bunch of ineffective promotions that are stealing the resources for your effective promotions to thrive, then you have a dying promotional garden. And you need to be proactive and make corrections in real time to make sure that your promotional garden is healthy. I really want you to think about that because in my company, everybody wanted something from me. As Dan calls, I became the ATM of my industry. And I was really nice. I was giving everybody money and they kept on coming back, right? But what is that? That's promotional ineffectiveness. That's allowing your weeds to grow, your trade spend to grow without really understanding what's going on, and your people to be mismanaged, meaning that they do whatever they want. There are no guardrails. And guess what happens? Your brand fails. Okay? That's exactly what happens. So why am I and my team just so passionate about helping brands promote better? Well, my experience, and some of you know this already if you know me, but my experience with my first CPG brand taught me what not to do. Like I said, I wish I had Dan back then, but I actually failed in retail because I didn't have control over my spend. I had very little control over my brokers and ambassadors because I was using spreadsheets, email, and texts to manage them. And God forbid, I don't know if anybody knows this, but I used fax. Like it was a common thing back then in 2005. I don't think it's that common anymore. Maybe it is. So we are here to help brands manage their promotional efforts in a 3-dimensional way versus a 2-dimensional way, which if you go to the next slide, you'll be able to see. What we created is a single source of truth plus real-time data. And again, super, super important, people management. If you're managing your trade and your demos, and trade really is all trade tactics. If you're managing all of that with 5 or 6 different spreadsheets, data is all over the place. What a founder and a management team needs is one source of truth that allows them to look at each individual tactic and manage that tactic across the entire company. So the brokers, the ambassadors, the merchandisers, your management team, your executive team, data, training, everything is all in one place. And I guarantee you, I'm telling you from experience, not only from my experience, but we've been working with so many brands. It changes the game, and it gives the smaller brand a chance to fight against their big counterparts. Okay. Again, I'm going to mention a bar. If you're a nutritional bar, an energy bar, guess what? 90% of the people out on the shelf, when you have 300 bars, right, to compete with, they're going to the Cliff bars, the RX bars. They're going to the bars that they know. And why do they know them? Because they're spending millions of dollars in advertising and marketing that you don't have. And some of the best brands, by the way, have gone to their success by trial demos. Look at Kashi, look at Hashka in the natural space for skincare. Look at GT's Kombucha, Evolution. I mean, they all killed it initially. They spent probably most of their money on sampling and trial and promotions. So it's critical, but you got to do it right. So that's why Dan is in this industry. That's why we're in this industry, because we want to help people promote better. The dreamers out there who risk everything, who mortgage their house, who take loans from their family, okay? They need to win. They need a win, and we're here to help them win. So definitely, Dan, thank you for what you do in this space.
Thanks.
We all appreciate it, and we'll continue working with you and others to, again, just help the small brands succeed. So that's what I have. And if anyone has any questions, what I'm offering is I will personally meet with you 30 minutes as a consultation. Just email me. The email is there on the chat, yuval@promomash.com, or hit me up on LinkedIn, Yuval, Yuval, Selik, Selik. And let's schedule some time and let's go over your promotional planning and how you're doing. Because you know what, no matter what, whether you use PromoMash or not, or you continue using spreadsheets, we can really even identify some real key points that we can discuss that will help you, because what you don't know is hurting you. And I think Dan and I can help you, especially the emerging brand, figure out what you don't know and guide you on the right path. So thank you everyone for showing up. I appreciate it. And Dan, it's all back to you.
Yeah, so now we'll do the Q&A, and let me kind of reinforce what you all said, and thank you for sharing that. So one of the things I didn't say is that trade promotion includes everything it required to get your product in the hands of a consumer. Now, it's an overly broad definition, but if you're not taking into account everything, and I do mean everything, then you're really fooling yourself. And so let me give you an example. A lot of brands I talk to, they talk about how much it costs to go to Expo East for some trade show. And I'm not trying to pick on them, but so let's say you spend $5,000, you get a booth. It's up in the worst place. You're not getting a lot of traffic. And then you have your people show up, you get your samples show up, et cetera. By the time you're all in, oh, and by the way, you got to feed your people too, right? So by the time you're all in, you're spending about $25,000. Will you get $25,000 worth of sales at that event? Yes or no? You need to decide whether or not that's a good spend. So let's take this into big CPG to give you a little bit of a view of what that looks like. So you've probably heard me say, when I worked for Unilever, we were getting so many deductions, and I was trying my best to deal with them. And my boss actually came to me and said, you know what, we're paying you to sell. We're not paying you to do deductions. So there were retailers that were deducting things that did not make sense, deductions that we actually had a leg up on. And we shouldn't have had to deal with that kind of minutia. Tremendous waste of time, etc. And I'm doing my best to try to weed this out because I'm trying to be a good steward of my company's money, right? However, my boss said, just let it go. And a lot of companies do that. And the way that they put the deductions in front of people, that's a huge issue. That's one of the most important services that Promo Mash offers. So take advantage of that. If you don't do anything else, take advantage of that. Managing your deductions. And by the way, in these webinar series, I talk about how to avoid that headache in the begin with. So go back and watch some of those old episodes. So now let's talk about the trade marketing piece. When I worked for actually Unilever, we came up with our own trade marketing tool back before there was anything on the market. And it was amazing. Push button category management, right? We were able to put the information in. It would spit out whether or not it was a good promotion or not. Well, that wasn't enough, because what we found is if you take cookie cutter strategies, cookie cutter promotions, and you dump it into it, you don't get the rise and the lift you're supposed to. So while Kimberly Clark, out of frustration, as a category captain for Huggies and Kleenex, etc., I actually had the privilege of putting together a promotion where I was able to get way down into the weeds. And I was able to find out I did exactly what things moved the promotion, what were the levers that moved the promotion, what were the things that drove the sales. And the retailer gave me complete control over the promotion, which is really rare. And I was able to put in product in 108 stores. There was no back stock, no out of stock throughout the entire promotion, no stock left over after the promotion. We sold an additional 500,000 cases, 10,000 cases, $500,000, 10,000 cases. And we did that in a week. And I was also able to help the retailer understand exactly how much cold and flu medicine they needed to have in ahead of time to support that. My point is this. When you can apply that level of resourcefulness, that level of insights to a retailer, then they will bend over backwards to reward you. So that retailer did not charge me for promotions going forward, for most of them, for the shelf placement, stuff like that. They promoted us for free in their rotos, etc. This is what we want to help you get to. So to reiterate, the reason this matters, you've got to level up your skills. You've got to go way beyond what every other brand does. And again, frustrates me to no end. I'm sure it does to you all too, to hear brands say, well, I've got this fancy tool and I push a button and this is what it gives me. There are a lot of issues, even if you use no matter how you do it, syndicated data doesn't match up with the way that retailers promote. Okay. There's so many issues. The way the data is coded in any of the databases does not reflect the way that your unique customer buys your products. And that varies by retailer. So these are things you need to be thinking about. So then you take that and you put it into Yuval's tool. And now you've got an end-to-end solution and a unique competitive advantage against anyone else in the industry. Yuval, you want to throw in a couple other thoughts, and then please put in your questions and we're here to help.
Yeah, if you have questions, take us up on it right now. But you mentioned deduction management, and I get a twitch every time I think of deductions. But it's a big business out there, right? If you think about what deductions are, it's a big business and people are making a lot of money. I'm not going to mention names, but people are making a lot of money off of the little brands because they know that they don't have the resources. And I'm talking about if you're like 1 to 25 to 50 million in that area, people know you don't have the resources to really go after the thousands of deductions that are coming in from those invoices, right? And they're banking on it. So it is in your best interest to either find people within your organization to really understand what you're spending with your indirect customer and your direct customers. And you want to make sure that you're fighting and validating those deductions because 7 to 10% on average, we found, are invalid. That's real money that you can put into real promotions to help raise awareness. Those are the weeds. They're ineffective. And if you're not managing them, if you don't have the resources internally, reach out to someone else. You can reach out to ProMash. We can help. You can reach out to someone else. It's not about ProMash. It's not about Dan, it's about you guys. And that's why we do what we do. Okay. So please understand that it's not about a sales call here. This is not a webinar just to sell. This is a webinar to help the brands achieve success. And it's important to us, and we're passionate about it.
Absolutely. In fact, Yuval, I would challenge that number seems extremely low. There are companies literally that play games. I mean, they make money, so they get a percentage of whatever they collect. And the stuff they do, I think, is honestly, like, I don't know if I should say it's criminal legally, but I mean, it really is pretty slimy. And the challenge is that, going back to cash flow, the reason we're having these conversation, this is why it's matters. I've got a whole section in the course that I'm actually in the process of getting ready to launch about this exact thing. I put up on the screen there a guide that I put together, my most popular guide, that'll walk you through some of the things you need to be thinking about, some of the things that you need to be paying attention to. So thank you for sharing that. So I have a couple questions from before. And again, please send additional questions if you've got them.
I do want to
So,
add one thing, Dan, and that's
please.
just to finish off with deductions. The one thing that customers or clients, or sorry, brands need to really think about are your checks when they get paid. The 2% net 10, okay? Watch out for that, because your client or customer is going to pay 45 days in and still charge you for the 2%. So please, it's not just standard deductions. There's a lot in there that you need to focus on. And if you're not, I implore you to do so, because that's cash money in your pocket. Sorry, Dan, go on.
No. I'm glad you said that. In fact, okay, this is really scary. One of the different sessions we had, Eric Skay was on, and he was talking about how to manage a team and how to build a team, et cetera. But he was talking about when he was a brand, called his wife up, and his wife said, I've got good news and bad news. He said, okay, what's the good news? The good news is we sold a truckload of stuff, $12,000. The bad news is, no, I'm sorry, $19,000. The bad news is we just got a check from the distributor for $12.34. I hear stuff like that all the time. True. I went to Expo once. Well, it is. This is maddening because it's your money. And I was going to say, I went to talk to one of the brands that was on the podcast a while back. I was mentoring, and she was in tears because they didn't know if they're going to be able to survive, because the distributor was holding their cash and they had bills to pay, et cetera. And this is such a challenge. And again, on the webinar series, we had debt financing. We have a lot of different tools, things people have been asking about. So go back and leverage it. But to Yuval's point, this is, largely a scam. And it's one of the things that I think PromoMash does the best. Okay. I would not give this to a broker. I would not give this to anyone else, because a lot of times they don't know what it takes to be in your shoes. But if you've got someone like Yuval, who's been a brand, who understands this, who has your back, definitely take advantage of that. So a couple quick questions. So Matt asks, what is the difference between a demo and a TPM? Where he's going with that, Yuval's question for you is, I made the statement that managing the demo piece, you were talking about people within the demo, all those components, and then leveling that up to the trade promotion.
Yeah. So I think a lot of brands mistakenly categorize a demo as a nice to have, need to do. They're not profitable, and if I can avoid it, I will. And there's a reason for that. Number one, you got to manage people again. Nobody likes to manage. Well, most people don't like to manage people. Okay. If you can't manage people, it's hard. I get it. But a demo is trade marketing, because a demo is just a tool or a tactic in the wide range of tools that you have as a brand to raise awareness. That's what a promotion is. See, I think the term promo in this industry is completely wrong. Promo equals TPR for most people, and that's not true. It's not a TPR. A promotion is raising awareness to the end shopper so they can know who you are and purchase your product. It's simple. Marketing facilitates sales. If you're not a good marketer, get to be a good marketer, your business depends on it. Okay. So what is part of the marketing tool set? Well, you have demos. You can do it in person. You can do it outside with events. You can do it online with online activations. We're doing stuff with online brand ambassador influencers right now. So there's multiple ways of promoting a product with a person. Then you have merchandising. How are you promoting a product with merchandising? Well, if it's eye level on the shelf, if it looks good, if the pricing looks good, if it's clean and not dusty, it's more attractive to the people. Again, that's marketing. And then you have your price reduction. You have your advertising. You have your posters, your end caps, your off-shelf displays, whatever it is that you're doing, coupons. These are all tools that are utilized to promote to your shoppers. So what do? The best way of managing that, again, is through a one system approach. So you get to have one source of truth, and everybody, your marketing team and your sales team, get the data and can request and understand what's happening with all of your customers. It's super important. You can't have 5 different places to go to try to understand every tactic. It's suicide for smaller and emerging brands, especially fast growing brands. So that's the difference. And I think people don't understand that a demo is just as important as a price reduction, is just as important as an ad, and just as important as a coupon. It's awareness. And the more you can do by leveraging each one of those levers that you have, the better. Because what's going to happen is your TPR is then supported by the ad, is then supported by the off-shelf display, is then supported by somebody standing in front of the shelf, attracting customers so they know that there's a TPR. Because look, a yellow sticker, there's 1,000 yellow stickers on the shelf. So it's crowded and noisy. You got to do as much as you can to get people to your product. And those are the levers that you need to manage to work side by side to effectively promote your product. I hope that answers the question.
No, absolutely. In fact, the sole focus of a promotion is to introduce your product to a new consumer.
Yep.
And a lot of people miss that too. So if I had your product on my shopping list and I go to the store and I was going to buy it anyhow, I'm a loyal customer, and you give me a deep discount to buy the product, well, that's great for me, but that does not help you achieve what you were shooting for. That is a waste of money in terms of promotions, okay? There are more effective ways to reward me for buying your product. I talk about that on the podcast, other episodes, etc., even offline. The point is, to what Yuval was saying, is that this is such a huge piece of your business. And if we can teach you how to get more runway, how to leverage every opportunity that you have to get in front of a customer to maximize each and every opportunity to grow sales. And we talk about the market basket and a whole bunch of other stuff for another different episodes. But the point is, as you've all said, absolutely. Okay, so Joan wants to know, at what point should I be thinking about going to a tool like yours versus being on spreadsheets?
As I stated, there are 2 types. Well, I'm going to give you the general rule that we feel we saw success at, and then I'll give you an outlier. Okay. So the general rule is if you're under $1 million, maybe under $2 million, do it on spreadsheets. Okay. Figure it out. You have more important things to do than trying to manage everyone on a spreadsheet. I mean, on a platform. You need to work with the people. You need to work with the data. So on a spreadsheet, you're good. If you're over 2 million, 1 to 2 million, and you're growing, it's really difficult, because as you continue working on the spreadsheet, it gets more and more complicated. And then to leave that spreadsheet and to get people to adopt another process is super difficult. Okay. Because people don't like change. So what we say is, if you want people to use your platform or your product, get them in early, because if the longer they get used to their systems, it's going to be much harder. Now, the caveat to that, the outlier, are those emerging brands that are forward thinking, that know that they want to grow and they want to do it right at the onset. So they're willing to spend the money to invest in their company before they have all this activity that really requires a platform, because they're utilizing a company like PromoMash, not just for the platform itself, but for the expertise on the team. So if somebody is 6 months or a year away from really pouring the fuel on the fire, they still need to manage and understand how their demo program is going to look like, where they're going to demo, what kind of reporting, W-2 versus 1099 contracts, and all the things that you need to understand. Trade promotion, how do you set it up? I mean, there's a long way of teaching and training and setting the process up effectively. And the more time you have to do so, the better, because you're not rushing. But when you're starting to grow, it's like people saying, well, I'll do it when I'm 10 million or 20 million, when I need a platform. No, at that time you're pulling your hair out. You don't have time, and you can't focus on it as you can when you're early on. So I'm not recommending anyone go into a platform if they don't want to. I'm just telling you, based on our experience, based on the people and brands we work with, those that are really serious about their business, about their growth, they work with experts in the field to help them grow. They don't do it themselves. The more you do yourself, the more opportunity you have for failure, because there are things you just don't know. So unless you're like the Kind Bar, team that starts a new product, they've been there before. They grew to $1 billion company. They don't need experts. They have the experts on their team. But if you're just starting out, you're a first or maybe even second time entrepreneur for CPG, there's a lot you don't know. So utilize the ProMash team, Dan, other consultants to help you grow. It's important. I wish I had it. Believe me, I would have been successful in retail if I had that.
It makes all the difference in the world. I'm glad you shared that. Thank you. I would like to point out that, I'm always talking about how you need to have a solid business plan. And your business plan needs to be so robust and so thorough that someone else could step in and run your business on your behalf and in your absence. The point being is that when you have those solutions up front, it's going to help you grow and scale. Me personally, when I launched my business, this business, I had to start over several times because I didn't have the right infrastructure to be able to support it, the right technology, the right website, the right whatever. Huge problem, huge learning curve. Gosh, I wish I would have known what I know now.
Yep.
The other thing is to kind of reinforce why this matters. And I'm so glad you said that, Yuval. Go listen to the episode that I did, the podcast episode with Gail Becker of Cauliflower. She shares exactly why this matters. Listen to her, heed her advice. The point is this: the reason that everyone knows who Cauliflower is and what the brand does and everything else is because she surrounded herself with the best people, the right experts. Not all experts are the right experts for you. That's something else we talk about in other episodes, etc. But she surrounded herself with the right people, knew that she needed the help, she wasn't the brightest person in the room, but she was always learning. Let me put it that way. John Foraker actually said that on one of the episodes. But the point is, here's an example of a brand that leveraged others, the brilliance of others, to become essentially a household name. And in trade marketing, it's even more important because we were talking, and there are a lot of inefficiencies in her system. And here's a lady who's got the right people, etc. But we talked about a way where she could really level up her game even more. And we talked about that on the podcast. So thank you, Yuval, for sharing that. Again, critically important that you level up. This is your most important thing. The most important thing you need to be thinking about is, when do you integrate? And I get this question all the time, Yuval. So great question, John. Is, when do you start thinking about putting those tools into effect? The answer is as soon as you possibly can, so that you can become comfortable with them, so that when you start growing, now all of a sudden you don't need to step back and learn something that is new. Okay, so thank you for sharing that. Any other thoughts, Yuval?
No, I mean, I think we covered it all, and I implore everyone to get on Dan's website and start learning and reading the most valuable information you can for CPG growth, especially if you're starting out. Great information. So
Thanks.
I really, again, just want to thank Dan for all you do for the business and the industry. And I look forward to collaborating again in the future.
I appreciate it. Besides, he's paying for it. Just kidding. He's going to send me a check.
I'm sending him checks on a weekly basis now.
With lots of zeros.
With lots of zeros.
Thank you for sharing that. No, I appreciate it. Well, I've only got a couple more minutes. So we actually about 8 more minutes. So Michelle wants to know the reference to the garden. Can you go back to that? She liked that. The fact that you've got, or on the left side, you had a healthy garden. The right side, you had an unhealthy garden with a lot of weeds.
Yep.
Can you go back to that analogy and talk about how how trade marketing, using that analogy, how does trade marketing impact the rest of your business?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I felt that with my company, as I grew into retail, and we grew nationally pretty quickly, which is another discussion we can talk about offline. But we grew nationally, and as we grew, every distributor and broker wanted support for the stores. And as a first-time CEO of a CPG brand, you almost believe that every store can be a profitable store for you. And that's why you're spending money, because you're saying, well, if I support the store, I'm going to get a return. And all of a sudden, you're just spending. So let's say you have a 15 or 20 or even 30% trade spend compared to your gross sales, right? Initially. As you start scaling and growing, if you don't manage it, all of a sudden it's 35, 37, 40. Your margins didn't increase, but your spend increased. And that's where brands fail. So you need to keep available to you as much cash as possible. So if you are promoting, if you don't understand the promotions that are not effective, the 70% that are not effective, guess what? Those are the weeds. Those are the promotions that are sucking the lifeblood of the 2 or 3 or 4 or 10% of the promotions that are really effective, and the other 10 or 20% that are just mediocre. They're doing their job. If you can identify the 70% of the promotions or 40% or even 30% of promotions that are ineffective, take that cash, as Dan was talking about in his calculator, take that cash and repurpose it for other awareness activities. You're going to be so much ahead of your competitors, because most people are not doing it. Most brands are not doing it. And they're getting sucked dry every single month with the belief that they're going to succeed. You're not going to succeed in every retail. Get over it. It's really the case. Not everyone's going to like you. There are going to be haters. And the first time you understand that, that's when everything changes. If you run after everyone, you'll die. If you'll focus on the ones that come to you, that are your ideal client, your ideal promotions, you will thrive. And that's super important to understand. If nothing else, take that out of the webinar today. Go after your ideal clients and your ideal promotions. Super important.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing. And let me go one step further. One of the challenges that we find in this industry, we're talking about weeds, I love the analogy, is that there are a lot of people in this industry that are here to take your money, that have their hand out. Again, quote unquote, supposed experts that really don't have the background that we're talking about, et cetera. And I mean, there's good help and there's bad help. So, the good mechanics, bad mechanics, et cetera. So make sure that you are going out of your way to really assess who's that right person that you're bringing into your business. The reason I mention this is that in this industry, you constantly hear people talk about how velocity is the only thing you need to pay attention to. The reality is this: a brand with deep pockets can buy velocity. They can buy shelf placement. They can look really, really good on that canned ranking report that you're sharing with every retailer. But that's not a good story. And they're pulling dollars out of the category, and it's not sustainable. If you get lulled into believing that that's the way to do this, there are a lot of people out there that are great at writing checks with your money. If you get lulled into believing that that's the way you should do this, then you're just shooting yourself in the foot. I mean, it really is. It's anyhow, it's bad. So don't do that. So there are better strategies. I mean, I talk about contribution. I talk about some of the things that we've been discussing here. And again, it all goes back to leveling up your skills, really challenging, really becoming an expert in trade management, and then having the right tools, like you've always saying, to be able to maximize each and every opportunity. Any other thoughts? We're coming up on the hour.
You know why Steve Jobs and Warren Buffett are successful? They're
Why?
successful because they know who to say no to and what to say no to.
True.
Okay. That's the reason why they're successful. They don't focus on everything. They focus on what matters most. Another Stephen Covey, thought there. But if you know how to say no, I'm sorry, if you know, K-N-O-W, if you know how to say no, you will have a much greater chance of success than if you have a problem saying no. So remember that you have to empower yourself in order to succeed. No one's going to do it for you. You're the only one that's going to do it.
Absolutely. Just a minute. I'm typing and my computer's up here. So yes, there is. And so, Heidi, yes, there will be a replay of this. Do me a favor, share it and help us raise the bar in the industry.
Yep.
And that's what this is about. The reason this is free is because I want to help level the playing field. Go back to my mission statement. My mission is to help you get your product onto more store shelves in the hands of more shoppers, including online.
Yep.
And the way we do this, the reason Yuval's here, the reason we have so many people participating in this is because they are on the same on board. They are on the same mission in terms of wanting to help you grow and scale. So thank you everyone for being here. I really appreciate it. Yuval, any parting thoughts?
If you want to discuss further, again, no strings attached. I'm just here for you guys. If you want to discuss further, send me an email. I'm happy to jump on a call, answer any questions, give you some tips and tricks, and we can go from there. If not, I hope to see you one day, speak with you, hit me up on LinkedIn. Dan, such a good webinar. Thank you so much. And we'll see you again soon, I guess.
Thanks. Appreciate it. And my 2 cents, again, I've had the privilege of working with big brands, multi-billion-dollar brands, and I've seen their systems from the inside out. I've even helped design some of the stuff that they use. What you've all got, definitely worth your time. I've looked at a lot of the other tools out there. This is one this is the only one I recommend. Put it that way, okay? Thank you, Yuval. Thank you, everyone else. And we look forward to seeing you next week. Thanks.
Bye, guys.